Alors, merci beaucoup. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici ce matin, parmi des amis de beaucoup de temps, des collègues. Nous avons étudié ici ensemble à Glendon. Maintenant, il y a beaucoup d'ans. Comme chancelier de l'Université de York. Alors, premièrement, félicitations à tous ceux qui ont organisé les débats d'aujourd'hui. C'est très important à Glendon surtout d'avoir ces réunions parmi les diplômés pour continuer la force Glendon qui touche pas seulement le Toronto, l'Ontario, mais tout le Canada. Je me souviens bien, 1967, la création de Glendon, l'anniversaire du Canada, et tous les Canadiens, partout le Canada, sont très fiers de ce que nous avons fait cette année, et surtout la création de Glendon. It was, I remember it very well. What a marvelous institution. Et après ça, après 9 ans, j'ai décidé de continuer mes études et j'avais le désir de participer à Glendon. And I was really surprised when they accepted me. I thought, oh my God, Don, this elite institution that was as powerful an expression of the centennial as was created. Yes, there were a lot of hockey rinks, and there were some other things, but in a way, the creation of Glendon really reflected what the centennial in 1967 was all about. And where's Donald? Is Donald still here? There you are up there. Nous avons maintenant un principal ici qui a la capacité de porter Glendon dans des routes très importantes pour le Canada. And we are so happy to have you here, and we are so lucky to have you here. So, l'obligation que j'ai comme chancelier est d'aider où je peux dans ces réunions, surtout des diplômés, to bring together graduates in a way that renews the spirit. Because as I have learned since becoming chancellor, a university is in part what goes on between professors and students during the course of an academic period, but it is a continuum that goes back, in Glendon's case, historically 50 years, and maintaining that continuum for the benefits of the students that are being oriented today, and for the benefits of the students that will come here 10 years from now. These are very important events. So James Daw called me, and he said, would I come and speak at, what did we call it, grads addressing Canada to 150 years. And James, I'll tell you, I really appreciated the invitation. It's always a little bit intimidating to try and wrap up something into 10 or 15 minutes, as Greg made it clear. But I just thought I'd throw out 2 or 3 thoughts about not so much where we are today, but some of the challenges that we're going to face as we celebrate our 150th birthday. So what can you say about, Canada's 150th birthday? I think, Don, you can say it was a pretty good start. We're well underway. We are a young country. 150 years in terms of civilizations that have existed through thousands of years. It's not very much time, but we are well underway, and our roots are pretty strong. We are 35 million people that occupy an enormous stretch of the planet. I think the second largest country by landmass on the globe. So as 35 million Canadians, we are well endowed, and I think we're well positioned. Although, I just read a piece by Don Sanders in the Globe and Mail. He's just written a book called Maximum Canada, Why 35 Million Canadians Are Not Enough, arguing for a population of 100 million as soon as we can get there. I'm just not sure about that. I know I'm doing my part. I have 6 kids and 14 grandkids, and Jesus, I'm going to be a great-grandfather sooner than I want to admit. That's all coming down the line. But particularly as we see this massive movement of refugees, people displaced, moving around the planet, the question arises for Canadians. What's our role there? Certainly we did a good thing in opening our doors to tens of thousands of Syrian refugees. But when you think about what's going on the planet, this is a rather small response to a global crisis. Will we get to 100 million? I think so. It's just a matter of when that's going to happen and how we do that in a way that maintains the cultural roots and the cultural diversity that is Canada and builds on that to make an ever stronger country. As far as looking at the future is concerned, there's 2 things that I wanted to mention. The first has to do with technology, and the second has to do with demographics. Because the world is going to go on and on and on, and you know what's past is prologue. But there's 2 areas that I think will have such a dramatic impact on our evolution over the course of the next 30 or 40 years. So the first is the technological revolution, which touches everything. But given my previous life as a politician, I think particularly in the area of communications. The first time ever on the planet where a head of state regularly tells lies to 200 million people on a daily basis at night before he goes to bed or in the morning after he wakes up. This is unprecedented. We've never seen it before. We've never had a democracy where the communications vehicles are of that sort. And in dealing with that, I just want to make a comparison of 2 phenomena. There was a delightful docudrama that I saw about a year ago. I think it was called Winston, where it was the story of the fact that Winston Churchill, in the middle of the Second World War, suffered a massive stroke. What fascinated me about the story is that when he was at his country home recuperating, his chief of staff invited all the major players in the British press out to a meeting with him. And the part of the drama that really hit me was the chief of staff saying, "There will not be a word of this until this war is over." I compare that with the fact that during the last presidential election, candidate Hillary Clinton caught pneumonia, and within about 5 minutes, the entire world knew that Hillary Clinton had pneumonia. This is a very different world, and our democracies are organized on the basis of the old world and not quite prepared for this new world of instant communication where millions and millions of people can be told a story which has no truth at all, and you can be assured that at least 20 or 30% of the people hearing the story will take it as gospel. It's a different world, and we have to accommodate ourselves to that new world. The second, and I realize my time is running short, has to do with demographics. I'm part of the baby boom generation, as many of you are. We dominate everything. That wonderful book, I can't remember the author's name, Don, maybe you can help me, Boom, Bust, and Echo. David Foote, right, of course, made such a strong point about it's all about demographics. And the fact that in Canada, the baby boom generation, we are moving towards, let's be frank, old age. We are about to enter an era when a massive part of the Canadian population is going to have to be supported by a much smaller working age workforce. And the reason why I think it's so important is because as a country, We have never experienced this before. We don't know what it's going to be like. The pressures that we will put on Canadian society and Canadian treasuries is going to be enormous. The ability to generate the wealth to respond to our needs is going to be very challenging indeed. And it's going to happen in an era where technologies are making most jobs disappear at an alarming rate. So our politicians need to be doing, and our researchers need to be doing some profound research and understanding about where this shifting demographic is going to lead us. If Ron Cantor, who's back there, were still in the government, he would lead that exercise and we'd have a better knowledge of it. But I certainly don't have answers, and I'm grateful for the fact that I got through government without having to solve that problem. Thank you all very much for inviting me.